Hello and welcome to Experience of the Soul, a weekly space that helps you grow, prosper, and live from your soul's deepest truth. In this episode, spiritual teacher and author Cynthia Alice Anderson responds to heartfelt listener questions, exploring how to discern what the soul truly wants, how to remain spiritually grounded in chaotic times, and how divine love expresses itself through our lived experience. We invite you to listen with an open heart. And now, Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm also lovingly known as RCA, and today is a great day, my friends. We have a lot to celebrate. I can't believe how long we've been on the air. We are out here at Aura Coffee, and of course, not only am I here with my amazing producer, Mr. Sean Kilgore, we've got some friends in the house too. Woo!
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 399 of the Experience of the Soul podcast. I can't believe it.
Hard to believe, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a listener since the beginning, and I've been a part of the show since episode 300.
Yeah.
And, man, what a thrill. And to be reaching this milestone. Is,
I know it's like a milestone for you, too, because we're going to do today show 99 and 100.
And 400, yeah.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah.
So happy to be here with you, as always, honored and blessed.
Amen
and,
to that,
it's
my
awesome
friend.
to be here in person with friends at Aura Coffee.
Yeah, it's fun to support the community, too. Somebody asked me, somebody offered a big venue downtown, and to invite the entire mailing list and all that. And I said, or we could just have coffee with friends.
Yeah.
Let's make it easy.
That feels more right.
It does. And I love the vibe in here. It's a real spiritual vibe. There's an emphasis on the spiritual journey. And I find that so many people I talk to here are on the journey, even today, right? We setting up.
Yeah.
Two gals offered to move so we could be here. And they said, and what's your show? We want to listen. And then another woman I was talking to said, I really want to know more about it. So there seems to be a beautiful vibe over here.
Yeah, very much so. Well, friends, today is Monday. This is February 9th. So this week, as we go into This Week in Spiritual History, this week as a whole carries a really beautiful rhythm of love and remembrance and inner reflection that is woven through ancient spiritual traditions and gentle cultural reminders.
Yes.
Yeah. So from honoring devotion and compassion to contemplating impermanence, the days ahead invite us to live with open hearts and deeper awareness. So we start with this coming Saturday, February 14th, which is Valentine's Day, of course, also known as the Feast of St. Valentine. This is rooted in early Christian traditions, honoring one or possibly more martyrs named Valentine. Mm-hmm. Over time, of course, it became a little commercialized and associated
Imagine
with...
the U.S. commercializing something.
Right? Yeah, it became associated with romance and affection. And today, it really does sort of invite us to celebrate love in all of its forms, whether it's romantic love, compassionate love, communal love, friendship love, that kind of stuff. It's a beautiful reminder that love itself is a spiritual practice.
Amen to that. Well, it is also my birthday, so I love it.
That's right. Valentine's baby.
Valentine baby.
That's right. Then Sunday, February 15th is what is known in the Buddhist tradition as Parinirvana Day. This is also known as just regular Nirvana Day. Mm-hmm. This is observed by many Mahayana Buddhists as the day the historical Buddha entered the final nirvana at the end of his life.
Yeah.
So this is a sacred observance that invites reflection on impermanence, compassion, and letting go, encouraging us to honor both the passing of our loved ones and the quiet transformations unfolding in our own lives.
Gosh, that brought tears to my eyes, Sean.
Yeah.
What I love about some of the other cultural traditions spiritually is that the emphasis, one, on honoring your culture and your ancestors, and then this remembrance, these times of remembrance. We see that a lot in Judaism as well. We don't see it as much in Christianity. So maybe that's something for, all of us to consider. Are we really honoring the passing of those, people that have been so close? Like, in our family, we do a thing, it's like, oh, this is mom's birthday. This was dad's birthday. And all the siblings, It takes one of us to start it, and we go, oh, yeah, it's a way to kind of think. So that's what we do in my family. But even that, it's easy to forget because culturally we don't do it.
Yeah. What's interesting, I've kind of noticed there's kind of been a shift away from the traditional after death of what happens. Have you seen that or noticed that really?
Oh, most definitely. Even the way memorials and what people want is very different.
Like a lot, I've known some people that have passed recently, and all of them have waited over a month to have a celebration of life. They're not doing an open casket.
No
they're
open,
not,
right.
It's very a very big shift from what I grew up knowing.
Well, it's very
what
scheduled
happened.
now.
Yes, yeah.
It used to be. Well, and a lot of times in the South, there were wakes and the body was in the home very often. So, yes, I'm wondering, you guys are shaking your heads. That was probably true for you, too, growing up at different times, right? That memorials and passings were done very different than now. I feel like, too, there's no real grief time. We're like right back into life after.
Like, almost immediately.
So, that is another thing, again, because we're trying to grow spiritually, and so many of these things I don't want to just, gloss over because they're incredible teachings from spiritual history, and it's inviting us into, I think, a deeper awareness.
Yeah, I think so too. Awesome. We move into the Hindu tradition now. Also, Sunday, February 15th, is what is known as Mahashivarati. Mahashivarati. It's a profound Hindu festival devoted to Lord Shiva. Traditionally, it is observed through fasting and meditation and overnight prayer, which I think is cool, like to do a whole little overnight
yes, that is very powerful.
Prayer event. This holy night symbolizes the overcoming of darkness and ignorance within. The overcoming of darkness and ignorance within.
I wish more people would become Hindu right now. Then.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
It seems,
seems like it's quite needed in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So spiritually, this is a powerful invitation to release what no longer serves us and to awaken to greater clarity, presence, and inner truth.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right. So, but our Just for Fun is today, Monday, February 9th, and it is National Gumdrop Day.
Oh, I love that idea.
This is lighthearted.
We should have brought gum for everybody.
That would have been, this is a lighthearted, nostalgic celebration of simple sweetness. It's a playful reminder that joy and delight and even a little whimsy can be a part of a grounded and meaningful spiritual life.
It is. Yeah, I love blowing bubbles, don't you?
Yeah.
Is gumdrop,
well,
though? That's
yes,
really
this is different.
candy.
Like this is like the chewy
candies.
Yeah. Do you like those?
Those are good. Are you kidding? Anything sweet?
I wouldn't say no.
I wouldn't say no. We all got a sweet tooth in here today. Yeah. Where's my candy?
All right, friends, something to think about as we head into the week. How do your expressions of love, whether they're big or small, reflect what your soul most wants to share with the world this week?
Beautiful.
And that kind of leads us perfectly into the content of this. Our next two episodes today, 399 and 400, are going to be Ask RCA. So we've collected some questions from listeners and friends, and that question actually leads us perfectly into our first question.
Sure.
So this is a question. So the question is, how can I tell what my soul wants, or how do I know? So this is a question that we've actually been working with in a class that we're involved with.
Right.
And we had a little conversation about it earlier. Like, it's very easy to, and I think, Diane, you actually said, like, I had an answer right away, and then I thought, no, that's not actually the answer. And when you said that, I was like, that is exactly how I thought about it, because I immediately had the answer. My soul wants peace. My soul doesn't want chaos. But then I had the thought, well, that's a very surface level answer, because I watch the news every morning. So.
Yeah, plus you're on social media where it is everybody's vilifying everybody. Yeah.
So how do we know what our soul truly wants? How do we get there?
Yeah. I think it's a great question, and I want to back up only a little bit to say that, we're both personality. A lot of times in spiritual settings, we call that ego, and soul, and so our personality is, we can see it played out with 2-year-olds. Mine. I want that. I want that. I want that. So the personality, does grow and develop a little bit as we grow, but mostly those first 0 to 5 years is where the personality gets set for how we're going to live the rest of our life. And it gets set by the family patterns, how our parents respond when we do good or bad and things like that. So, but under the personality is the soul, and that soul, Charles Fillmore said it this way, is our sum total of our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and ideas. In other words, the total aspect of us that is our past life memory. It is our memory now. It is what we often call the spirit or heart and soul of us, right? So first we have to understand we really are a soul. We have a body, but we are a soul. And most of our world looks at it the opposite. We say, oh, we're what we have and what we own and what we look like, And spiritually, we know we're looking to go under that, which is, what is my soul? Well, my soul includes my emotional nature. It includes how I think and feel. And so, Jesus prayed this way, not my will, thy will be done. And so even Jesus knew there was a difference and there was a limit to his own personal will. Even though we see Jesus as perfect, he did not want to do divine will. So when we're seeking for what does my soul want, we have to look at what is my soul desiring on a deep level to express. So desire, it is said, is the onward impulse of the ever-evolving soul. So what we want, what we desire, is what starts to bring us into alignment with our soul's purpose. So, for you it might be, I'm not saying it is, but for you, you're a musician, you're a producer, you deal with music and sound, you always have. So there may be an aspect of your divine purpose, you always desire to do that, to express that way. And so, when we know God's will for us is good, we want to live from those desires being made manifest. But if we say, well, I should get a real job, I should do this, I should do that. Well, that's the personality fighting that soul desire. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Right. And so the you can almost always know, I'll say almost always, maybe it is always, you can always know it's soul when you think, how am I going to do this? Because the soul usually has such a big desire for expression because it's been so pushed down for most of our lives because we've been living from the personality. So how do we know what our soul wants? Well, we know it because it's probably been existing with us for a very long time, maybe even since we were really little kids. It's probably been a through line through our whole life. And so sometimes we have to get quiet to discern, well, what is my soul wanting now? Because how it expresses when I'm 10 years old or 30 years old or 70 years old is going to be very, very different, right? Depending on my station in life, depending on what I've done thus far. That soul desire is going to express in a little bit different way. But we know it's soul by asking the questions, is it good for me? Not, is it what I want? Because what I want is usually the ego. When I say people, what do you want? Somebody will say, $1 million. I say, okay. And when you get that, what will you want? And they go, oh.
Oh, there's more? There's more questions?
Yeah. So, what our soul really wants is to express the desires that have been with us this whole lifetime. And so it's really uncovering what is that desire. So desire is a key. And as I'm saying desire, I always feel like I should say, an alcoholic would say, I desire a drink. So it's not the low desires. It's that high desire of how am I wanting to express in the world? How is God wanting to use my gifts and talents? And that's a really good indicator. Like, if you say to me, well, I want to be a superstar, and I say, how much have you performed? And you say none, I'm going to say, let's try again. Because it's not in reality for what your soul's here to do, Or I had somebody say one time, I want to reach 1 million people. I said, and I want to see that with you. How many have you reached so far? None. Okay, so let's start with God expressing in and through let's start expressing on a smaller level and see if that guidance opens up for you. But now, a million's possible, but, is this a true desire, or is this just a number you've made up because you want to be famous? You see, the ego attaching to something out here rather than saying, what do I love? What brings me joy? What have I always wanted to do? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, as I've looked back at my own journey, I'll go this far to say, I had really no choice in my work because of my desire to know the truth. Like, sometimes I had thought early in my career, should I have stayed a musician? Because I loved being a musician so much. I never didn't like my career as a musician. I always enjoyed it. I always had a lot of friends. I had a lot of great connection. I had great gigs. I had super teachers. But when I look back on my journey and my desire to know the truth, I mean, literally as a baby, I was dropped off at my godfather's house, and he read theology books to me before I could walk. So, like, Spirit was letting me know in some way, So then when I was in about 5th grade, my school was not good, and my teacher called my parents in and said, I can't teach your daughter. The housing projects have moved in. I'm telling students, black and white, who are able to learn, to go to another school. The only school I could go to was a Christian school. That Christian school is where I went to the mission field in Brazil. Yeah, like, I had no, like, Spirit, every single step was like, nope, this way, nope, this way. And so sometimes as we age, looking back can be helpful on our soul journey and to help us stay in alignment with what our soul really desires. And so, for me, it was spiritual. It was God connection. My spiritual connection was very important to me at a very young age. And I seem to be different than the other people in my family. Like, they went to church, but I wanted to know God. I wanted to feel God. I taught an adult Bible school class when I was 15. They said, well, you go to a Christian school, you read the Bible every day. I'd never heard of a 15-year-old teaching an adult Bible class, but that's what I was doing. So that's what I mean. So as we age, it's really helpful to look back and say, gosh, my life has had a plan. When I thought this, Spirit moved me this way. So answering the question, what does my soul want? And Sean, we were talking about this before, and I want to say again that the initial answer to that is going to be probably surfacey. What do I want? I want peace. Okay, how do you individually know peace is the next question. How do I individually know peace? Because I think all of us right now, certainly in the U.S., would say we want peace. We don't want chaos. That is a no-brainer. Yeah. But am I creating chaos in my own life through my choices and not listening to my true desire? Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? Yeah. So it is a super deep question, but I want to reiterate. One of the ways we know what soul is, number 1, it's good for us. Number 2, it brings us joy. Number 3, it's usually been with us for a very long time. Usually we don't wake up with a brand new soul desire. And so it's like uncovering. Sometimes we look back again to see how has our life been guided. And that will be a good indication of, going forward. And also looking, are there times where I have not been in alignment with my soul's desire? We've all had those times. There was a time in my career where I got tired of being spiritual everything, and I wanted to do corporate work. And I kind of rebranded myself for a while to just do something different. And I thought, this stinks. I don't like this. I don't like not talking about God. So it was a great experience. So from the outside, you could say, well, that was a misstep. But it wasn't, because it was a desire that I got my answer, and then I could get right back to where I was, and now I'm happier than I've ever been. So, it was a part of the journey, right? And I think with all the chaos right now, that we will find true peace as we are living from this deeper soul desire. Hopefully that helps. It's just such a deep question.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just skim across the surface and say, well, you know if it's good for you. But it is more than that.
Do you think that you're saying, that we will find the peace once we know
Yeah.
the peace within, but there is something that, like, where the collective needs to get to that point. So how do we?
The collective does, and unfortunately, I feel like we are seeing some people wake up that have never woken up before to truth. I've been seeing that. But unfortunately, it's a messy process. It's kind of like we're trying to birth a new consciousness. And anybody who's been at a birth of a child knows there is screaming, there is pain, there is sometimes horror at what's happening. And I feel like that's what's trying to happen consciousness-wise. And so, but yes, if we had more people knowing this, more people living from soul, every problem we see in the world would go away. Everyone.
Yep.
And just not everybody is ready for that message, unfortunately. But I do think people are beginning, to wake up. And so what I'm trying to say is, what we are seeing is a consciousness is trying to develop. I'm seeing it in the political parties because I don't see either political party being happy. And I see the Republican Party dissolving before my very eyes. I voted both Republican and Democrat. I don't mind anybody knowing that over the years. I don't have a big secret.
Yeah.
But I'm for humanity, and right now there's no way my humanity would allow me to vote for a single Republican I can think of because of the intensity of the hatred of the party.
Yeah.
That is throughout. But what I know is there are some values that some of the Republicans have held in the past that I also hold. Family, support, abundance. There's a lot of things that I do agree with. And so what I think is happening is I guess it would be a dissolution, the dissolving of what we currently know as our political parties and the Democratic Party too. It hasn't had a direction. It's finally getting a direction. So something new is trying to rise up, and it may be two completely different parties. I don't know. But it is more than political, but it's going to impact the political scene.
Yeah.
It's like it's not politics, but it's our consciousness reflecting in all of our politics. Yeah.
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 So with that, and we'll move away from some of this current event kind of stuff, but this is another just really good question.
Well,
on
it's
this.
what we're all thinking about.
Yeah. So how do you keep a positive mindset when the only news outlets when all of the news outlets are focused on separation, division, and conflict?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great question. First of all, I think the easiest way to answer that is limit your try to limit how much you're taking in those messages. That said, I think starting the day, as I always recommend starting it, with quiet, with breathing, with conscious awareness of who God is and who I am. And then that tends to carry me as like a through line, like a subtext throughout my day of knowing I'm connected to spirit, so I don't need to be in fear, And somebody might say, well, that's easy for you to say. You're not black or brown. And that's true. It is easier for me to say. But I also know people of color, very good friends of mine, who are in the exact same place I am. They say, I have no fear because I know God. And I know whatever's going to happen, I can handle it. And that's the way they walk through it. And so I think this belief and that God is with me, this belief that God knows me and that I know God, gets me through the day. And then if I need help, I'll do something every couple of hours. I'll just walk around the block and I'll say some positive thoughts. God is with me. I am not in fear. I am in peace and grace. I'll work with my thoughts. But I do think it's going to take conscious awareness and effort to stay out of the muck because everything we look at is horrific right now. Yeah.
So for anyone out there listening, if you wake up every morning and you turn on the news as the first thing that you do, maybe that's the first change that you make.
Yeah, I had I have a really good friend. He loves to read the paper, and he would say every morning that was with his first cup of coffee, and he realized he was angry all day, just because of that he was very strong guy, but very sensitive emotionally, very aware emotionally. And he was just angry because of the injustice. And he's always been a stand for love and peace and consciousness and all that. And he said just shifting that to later in the day changed everything. It was just putting things in their proper awareness. So starting the day with some yoga stretches, with, positive thoughts, with saying his own personal mission statements and vision statements for his life, was very, very helpful. So, I think things in proper dosage is very important.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and this might be the last question that we have time for this episode, but we have a whole nother episode coming with more questions. But so, keeping with this then, this question is, how do you explain the evils in the world? And so on top of that, what would you say to someone who says, how does a loving God allow these things to happen?
Yeah. That's the age-old question, isn't it? So God set up the big picture, and the details are up to us. And when we believe in separation, when we believe there's a them and an us, that consciousness manifests what we're seeing in the world right now. So how does God allow it? I mean, the very way the universe is set up is that we live in a cause and effect universe. And until we realize that we live in a cause and effect universe, we're going to keep going in this cycle. So there has always been evil. And is there dark energy in the world? I mean, yes, clearly there is. There are a lot of unity people that I know and love that say, just only focus on the positive. And as much as we do that, and you've heard me say this before, if you don't deal with what is really needs to be healed, that darkness will still be there in all of us. But the truest darkness is believing I am separate from anything. Because if I'm separate, then I can own you, then I can minimize you, then I can be better than you. And that's all the ego needs to elevate itself in power over. We see it with our environment. We see it with people of color, LGBTQ community. It's all throughout. So, I mean, does God allow it? Well, yes, but God is not a man on a throne who's going to throw down a lightning bolt and save us. That's Hollywood has given us that idea of God. And so I think part of our humanity is God save us, and God is saying, I gave you all the tools, save yourself.
Wow, that just sent chills through my whole body.
Yeah. It's the hardest thing to understand. I love, there's a Christian artist I love so much, CeCe Winans. And one of her songs is called Come, Jesus, Come, about Jesus coming back. And I believe that Jesus wants to come back as each one of us. That as long as we're waiting for a man to stand on a cloud, we're going to still be in this situation. I think the true second coming is in us. And until we know that, until we wake up to that, we're going to keep seeing, because right now what we're seeing is, if I can just be right louder. And, I've said this over and over and over. And, people are starting to see now, people that have worked with me a long time have said to me, I get it now. What you've been talking about for a long time is what's happening. I said, it is. It is. Until we know we are one, we're going to keep seeing it. Until we live from that. Now, Jesus taught it too. This is not just Hindu or something else. Jesus said, you are in me as I am in the Father. The Father and I are one. But modern day Christians skip over that. But that's the truest reality I know. And until we do that, that's what we're going to keep saying. That it's the second coming is us. And might there be a second coming of the actual Christ in the cloud? I'm open to it. I'm open to it. I'd love it if it happened.
Yeah.
But what I know is that without the Christ in us, we'll never be in the kind of world we want to be.
Wow. Well, beautiful questions, beautiful answers. And we have a lot more coming in episode 400 next week. So I'll leave it to you to wrap up this episode.
Yeah, friends, thank you for being here. A couple of people have asked about my prayer beads I've worn to on a couple of sessions. And I wanted to mention a dear friend of mine makes these. And her name's Dottie Hawk. And we now offer these on our website to support Dottie and her she calls it her hobby, but it's her spiritual. It's her spiritual devotion that makes these beautiful prayer beads. They are available on the website. And friends, we love you. We bless you. We're grateful for you. And I love being able to support you by answering the questions. As always, at the bottom of the podcast, when you're listening, there's a thing that says text me. Or text us.
Send us a text.
Send us a text.
It should be the very first thing you see on most podcast platforms. You'll see send us a text as the top thing in the show description.
Yeah, right. And we want to know what your questions are because we're here to serve and support your journey. So, my friends, thank you for celebrating with us. Show 399. We'll see you next week. Blessings on the journey.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson. This show is made possible by listeners like you, and your support helps keep these conversations available to all. If this podcast has supported you, you're invited to share it with someone you love or support the show at cynthiaaliceanderson.com/donate. Produced by Kilgore Creative and a production of the Soulworks Group Incorporated. We are so grateful for you, and we are holding you in prayer for God's highest and best in your life. Blessings on the journey.